Good morning, CLC. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this service. We love you. We appreciate you. We're grateful that you have joined us. And with that, now we come to our inner healing experience. I invite everyone just to take a moment to relax. Take a few deep breaths. Putting aside your day, putting aside anything that may have come before or that you have going on in the weeks ahead. Just let it go for now. Allow your body to relax. Allow your mind to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. In visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass, in seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words: I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
And you had a line in there about what is it, I want my life to be something more than long. I saw this terrible meme. It's funny, but it's terrible. It said, when I was young, I was very poor. But after years of hard work and dedication, I'm no longer young. Okay, I aim to fix that today, help that today. Can you hear me all right? Okay, my microphone, hang on just a second. There we go. It's trying to crawl down my shirt. Don't want that. And something else in there about, finding a place where you fit in. Did you hear about this is not a joke, 100-year-old lobster woman in Maine, I suppose, New Hampshire? By lobster woman, I don't mean like, she traps lobsters for a living. 100 years old, assisted by her 80-year-old son. And they said to her, why are you doing this? She said, it's what I do. It's what I do. I know lobsters. She would not be satisfied in retirement. She would not have been satisfied in all the years running up to now doing something else. And she probably had people telling her, you don't have to do this just because your family's done it for all these years. There's something greater waiting for you. She says, but I like trapping lobsters. What do you like to do? That's the topic today out of Emma Curtis Hopkins' High Mysticism, particularly chapter 7, if you're following along at home. And in the weekly emails, there's a link to a free download of the book in PDF form. It's in the public domain, so nobody's being beaten out of any money for it. And it's word searchable as a PDF, which is very helpful for those of us who are reading through Emma. 2 weeks ago, I was sharing with you the idea that there is a foundation under our feet. Last week, I was sharing with you the idea that there is a transcendent reality over our head. Today, what I want to share with you is that there's something going on side to side. There's something going on all around us. And she said, what you give your attention to, you combine with. We combine with what we give our attention to. We don't just manifest it, we combine with it. To really manifest something means that you take it into your consciousness so completely that you embody it. That's a word that Ernest Holmes used a lot, embodiment. It's not a word you hear a lot other places. But you embody an idea, and then naturally you manifest the experience of the idea as it pertains to your particular unique embodiment of it. Everyone's experience is unique to them. That's why there are so many of us. We're each here to have a unique experience. Unique, by the way, is not a word that can be qualified. You can't be more unique. You know what I mean? You're unique or you're not unique. Well, you are unique. There is one of you, and at the same time, there are many of us. Each one of us is having a unique experience of a thing with enough overlap that we can agree on the general outline of the quality of the thing. We all just heard a song. We can all agree that sounded like music to me. There was some music there. Did you enjoy the song? I believe you did. I believe everyone watching enjoyed the song. And if you have ever seen the musical Pipin, you had another association with it, which was probably the first time you heard the song when you were sitting in the theater. And if you've heard the song repeatedly throughout your life, you had all of those associations piled up as well. And if happy things were going on in your life when you've heard the song mostly, then you trend that way. And if change was occurring when you heard the song mostly in your life, then you trend that way. I walked in this morning and they were rehearsing and they were doing a song they're going to do in a minute. And it goes way back. It was a song that was on the radio when I was in pre-junior high, you know. And I came in and I said to Brian, I said, hey, that's by so-and-so. And he said, no, it's not. It's by so-and-so. And he was right. But the so-and-so I thought did it, and the so-and-so who actually did it were contemporaries, and they did a lot of stuff that kind of sounded alike and all. And it's a happy song, and I have happy associations with it and happy memories. And they're my memories. They're unique to me. No one else was there. Well, there actually were people there, but they're not here anymore. They're not here in this room. But the experiences that they were having were unique to them. You see where I'm going with this? So everybody has a unique experience. And you could make the argument that your reason for being in the world is to have a unique experience that nobody's ever had of stuff before. And then there's enough overlap that we can discuss it. We can agree that this is music or that this is this. Or I can tell you that it's going to get cool this week. This didn't make it into the announcements. But Tuesday night, it's going to be in the low 50s, according to my phone. Now, my phone has lied to me before about stuff like this. You know, so I'm not, but I'm just telling you. You know, the fall panels are up. Fall is about here. And for those of you not in our area, where it may have been in the low 50s at night for a while now, you have to understand where we are, it's like, thank you, God. We are so ready for this. So we'll experience the weather. Now maybe you like cool weather, maybe you don't. Jeffrey doesn't, as a matter. We've had this, right? We've had this shtick going on for years. I'll come in here, it'll be like 65 out, and Jeffrey's sitting there in a parka and mittens, and you know, everybody has their own experiences stuff. And sometimes we say we go to extremes. One person has over here, over there, the left and the right, you know, out on the flank, the extreme experience of things, so that all of it can get fed back into the one mind as information of a specific nature that it would not have without the benefit of its godlings, who are out there having these experiences and making these judgments. The question sometimes comes up, does God judge? And that's not an easy answer. Yes and no. Not in the sense of some external entity that's looking at things and judging them, but at the same time, if all there is God, and you're judging, and I'm judging, then who's doing the judging? Then the judging has to be happening within God, but it's not affecting the outlook of the whole entity that we call God. It's just affecting the experience that the particular godling that you are or that I am is having in the moment, and is feeding that back into the infinite. And so things get a reputation based on the experience that people have of things. Enough people agree that this is good or bad, and this is where basically your ethics and society come from. A bunch of people get together and say, well, this is terrible and we shouldn't do that anymore. And that becomes sort of the truth about it. that gets fed back into the universal. And so now there's sort of a bias against that thing in the cosmic mind, but not really at the level of the one that only sees I am. This is a tricky one, because I was, like a lot of people, brought up sort of to believe, probably with less intensity than a lot of people are brought up to believe this, but I was brought up to believe that, you know, God judges. It's like what God does. God is like the ultimate judge. And he, because it's a he, you know, in that story, looks down, because he's up in that story, and looks down and judges and smites the sinful and rewards the righteous and all of the rest of this stuff. And it's a very neat and tidy kind of story. Until you get everybody together and you realize not everybody agrees who the righteous are and who the sinful are. And you find that very often the people who consider themselves righteous consider the other people sinful, who at the same time consider themselves righteous and consider the first group of people sinful. And nobody can agree on who's righteous and who's sinful. And the whole thing falls apart under the weight of just absolute judgment. Every now and then, a mystic steps up who wants to know the mind of God and goes into the mind of God and finds in that mind not judgment, just I am. Just the I am nature. And comes back to realize that all judgment is human judgment. Now, this is not to discount human judgment, because some of it's useful. It's only useless when we call it absolute truth, when we substitute it for the I am, make this model of morality or ethics that we have at the local level, balloon it up to cosmic proportions as though it were true. So, on Wednesday night past, we had a soul session conversation, which I encourage you to watch. It's still on Facebook. It's also on YouTube. We're doing these about once a month now. This was with a member of our community who's an attorney, Denise Lagway Slate. She's an African-American attorney. She's in private practice now in criminal law and family law. Prior to that, she was a public defender in the Northeast. Well, you can read her whole bio. It's in the Facebook feed or also in the weekly emails. And we had this great conversation that could still be going on today if we hadn't had to end it, you know, because it's a huge topic. But divine law and human law, it was love, law, and the people. Love, law, and the people. And in our conversation together, I kept steering the conversation toward law, because she's an attorney, and that was sort of like what I thought we would be talking about. And she, the attorney, kept steering the conversation back to love. Isn't that great? How everybody deserves a break. Everybody deserves a second chance. People make mistakes. People make mistakes. And they can overcome them. And they can go on and do great things in this life. How they manage to do that has something to do with the culture, has something to do with the system and how the system works, and has mostly to do with their own conviction within themselves that they are enough, that they're all right, that they may have made a mistake, but they're not a mistake. And all of us have made mistakes, and some of us get caught at them. You know, all of us break laws now and then. I broke 2 or 3 on the way here this morning. Okay, and I bet, and if you're sitting there, all up in judgment, I bet you did too. I bet you did too. The rolling stop, you know, the right on red without the full thing, right? Okay, we say these are minor things and you got away with it until one day out behind a bush, you know, there's, right, and there you are, and now all of a sudden there's a ticket on your record. Now all of a sudden there's a thing. Well, you make mistakes. Sometimes you take risks, you take calculated risks. Emma Hopkins, who we're considering this month, said in so many words, I haven't actually found where she said this in just these words, but she said in so many words that all evil is done in the name of good. All evil is done in the name of good. Now that's a shocker if you first hear that. That sounds like crazy talk, you know? But think about it. All evil is done in the name of good. If you steal something, you think you have to. If you hate somebody, you think you have to. You think it's what's necessary. Whole wars are launched because somebody thinks this is better for us. We need to do this. A preemptive strike. Somebody thinks they have the intel that says this is what's necessary. All evil is done in the name of good. We stand back, we say, well, this is what I think I need to get by. It does not excuse the behavior. But what it does do is it keeps the behavior and the perpetrator of the behavior within the circle of the great I am, where there can be redemption, where there can be healing. So you have operating at the same time human law and divine law. Human law changes a lot, and we're still trying to get it right. Divine law does not change and is perfect. Divine law basically says it is done to you as you believe. Now the ball is in your court. You can believe whatever you want and it will be done to you that way. That's divine law. Divine law executes itself perfectly and completely all the time. And this is what I was getting into next week. Let's change time. I went last week into the idea that above us all, metaphorically speaking, is a perfect place of non-physical reality, the unseen realm, that we can trust. Because stuff in this realm changes. Stuff on this earth changes. It goes away. But there is something that does not go away. There is something that we can utterly depend on that is this one life, that is this one spiritual thing that we reach through prayer, that we reach through meditation, that we reach through regular daily spiritual practice. There is this one thing that is absolute and unending. And all religions of the world teach the existence of this. Then they depart from one another on the specifics of it. But they all teach that there is this one place that you can go where nothing has ever been wrong. And a short name they have for it, many of them, is heaven. There's the heavenly estate or the paradise estate where you can go where nothing has ever been wrong. See, here's the deal. Down here on earth, we're still trying to figure it out. We've been trying for a long time. We've been around for a while, we humans, but not all that long. Did you see the other day in Saudi Arabia, the camel bas-relief engravings, I guess you'd say, on the side of a cliff have been determined to be older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids. And I grooved on that because Stonehenge they think had a purpose and the pyramids had a purpose and these camel pictures don't. So around 12,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, some people on the Arabian Peninsula thought, hey, cool, let's do camels. Isn't that great? They didn't worship camels. They didn't even eat camels, I don't think. But they thought camels are cool. So let's do camels. Let's just for fun. There was fun in the world 12,000 years ago. That's not a story you get in school a lot. Usually it's survival, right? 12,000 years ago, these people were like gnawing on bones and keeping fires going and, you know, and had a lifespan about this long. No, they're having fun. They're like, cool, let's do camels. And this is just the stuff that's lasted in the Lascaux cave paintings and things too, and the cave paintings in Indonesia, you know. They're for fun. It wasn't all ritual. We today want, oh, it's a religious ritual. You know, they had to be wanting something. No, they were just being exuberant. They were just putting it out there, you know. The experience of this. Well, so for a really long time, we've been trying to figure it out. And I wonder if they got in trouble, the people who did the camel things. It's like, get back to work. What are you doing goofing off with these silly things, you know? We've been trying to figure it out. And so we get real serious and we get real deep and all of that. And we make laws. We have solemn laws, you know. And we have bodies of people who come down with Solon and Hammurabi and whoever, and who was the one, Draco. Draco had some fun. That's why they're still called draconian laws, you know, throughout history, these laws that we made up. And they work for a while, or nobody objects too loudly, or if they do object, they disappear suddenly or whatever. But, you know, but you have these laws, and then somebody comes along and they're a reformer. The greatest reformer of them all was Jesus Christ, of whom we have record, right? I come not to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. It's like get your eye on the ball, would you people? You know, get it off of this. It's the Sabbath and you're working, and lo, it is written that, and he's like, put some context in this, would you? Have some heart, would you? Love one another, would you? And the law began to change. And the law changes today. And the law has, at the human level, a long way to go. But it's come a ways. Then there's divine law. And divine law, as I say, is the execution of a perfect system. It really is. Everybody gets what's coming to them. If there's any downside to that, it's the fact that everybody gets what's coming to them whether they know it or not, which hardly seems fair. Because they really ought to get a heads up first. Shouldn't they? Shouldn't we get a heads up first? Did you know there's a law? You walk around, you saying this stuff, you're doing this stuff. Did you know that there's a law that's going to dramatically present itself in your life at some point? You should know this. For that reason, New Thought was invented. That's why we're here. That's why we have Emma Hopkins and all these other teachers, and you and me and everybody else and everybody watching. That's what we're there to do, is to spread the word that there's a law. And the first place to spread it is all over yourself, all over your own soul. Don't you forget it. If you forget it, you're not much use to anyone else. Furthermore, when you present this information to others, do so in a way that's not constricting, because it's found in all religions, it's found in all philosophies. If you dig deep enough for it, that's where the Emma Hopkinses of the world found it. She did not get her whole story from Mary Baker Eddy. Mary Baker Eddy did not get her whole story from, well, this is really controversial, but Phineas Quimby. There's a whole backstory there. You know, nobody just got the whole story from somebody else. They got it from upstairs through direct spiritual contact, through regular spiritual practice. So we find it within ourselves, and we share it with others, and we say, hey, maybe there's a way that you could do things differently in your life. There used to be, in Science of Mind magazine, which I encourage you to read, if you want a tool for daily spiritual practice, boom, there it is. A Guide to Spiritual Living, Science of Mind magazine. You can subscribe to it in print form, online. We've got ads for it in the weekly emails and stuff. It's been around since 1927. It's a great little magazine. And they used to have a column in it for about 20 years back in the 30s and 40s. Don't remember what it was called, but it went kind of like this. It was little slices of life. They made up little dramatic scenario, you know, where, like, I don't know, two people on a bus, let's say, and two strangers, you know. One says to the other, so how was your day today? And the other one says, oh, it was terrible. The boss and I got into a big fight, and I hate my job, and I hate my life. And the first person says, you know, I've found for me that I get pretty much what I expect. So maybe if you work on your expectations, I'm just suggesting, just saying, maybe if you look within your, you know, see in the past this kind of gentle advice back, no attachment, no, you know, come to my church on Sunday and swear allegiance to it for the rest of your life. None of that. Just, have you thought about this? And if you look back in your life, you've had people along the way who've said, have you thought about this? Recently, we had a memorial service for Dick Schmelzkopf. Dick Schmelzkopf used to say, have you thought about this? Right? He said things, is that really, that you just said there, is that really what you want to create in your life? Now you can take that a number of ways, but if you knew the man, you took it softly. It wasn't like, hey, who are you to be telling me? You know, it was you took it how he meant it, which, whoa. Because so shall be the word that goes forth from my mouth. It shall prosper the thing whereto I send it, and shall not return unto me void. And prosper the thing whereto I send it. So where am I sending it? Because it will not return to me void. Okay, one last piece for today that has to do with the kind of the flank of our experience. So we have something underneath, that's the ground, our foundation. We have something overhead that is the transcendent experience of union with the infinite, that does not change, that is our salvation, because salvation is not of this world, it's not of just the worlds of form. Now we have on either side of us what? Life, godlings, beating hearts, stuff going on. We are responsible for our experience of this. The question that comes up a lot in this teaching, I'm going to get into it in more detail next week because I'm running out of time here, has to do with personal responsibility and social responsibility. A lot of people say they're drawn to this teaching because it teaches personal responsibility. You know what I've found? I don't mean this as a criticism, but I've been teaching this stuff a long time. And what I've found is that very often when people say, I'm drawn to this because it teaches personal responsibility, they finish that sentence quietly in their heads by saying it teaches personal responsibility to other people who need to learn it. Because if those people were responsible enough, my life would be better. Okay, I get it, because we look around and we judge the level of responsibility that we see other people taking, and sometimes it doesn't seem to be enough. But their level of responsibility taking has nothing to do with how good your life is going to be. Because all of them could line up together and decide to take no responsibility at all, and you'd still be a free agent. You'd still be manifesting what you manifest. Yet conversely, if you don't give a hang, as they used to say, if you don't give a hang about what other people are going through, and you're only concerned about responsibility for yourself in your own life, you have a very sad and very small life. And your supply line shrinks away to nothing. Because we are built as social creatures. And we have come here together as a global tribe. There's a lot of talk about tribalism right now. Well, there's a global tribe called godlings. And it includes not just the human species, by the way, but it's the human species I'm addressing this morning, principally. Although there's a new dog channel. Have you seen that? Entertains, anyway. So if they're watching, you know, good on you. But the responsibility that I have for the others around me sends into my own subconscious mind my story of safety, my story of personal agency, my story of loving and being loved. It reinforces in the best possible way everything that I personally seek for myself. That may seem a selfish and small reason to be a better human, but it's a reason. It's motivation. And if all evil is done in the name of good, then all good is done in the name of good too. You know what I mean? It's like whatever it takes to get us to do this. See, like a lot of us were taught you should be good to other people because God wants you to be. That's not a sufficient motivation. Because maybe he's not watching right now. Or, well, this person isn't being nice to that person, so why should they have to play by different rules, just like why should Brian get a prompt from Jeffrey when I don't? But, you know, because we can always say, well, look at them over there. Look at that person. They're being negative and they're getting away with it. Why can't I? Or look at that rich person who's really awful. They're a thief. You know, they're this corrupt individual, and they're richer than Croesus. How is it they managed to get away with that? That's not your problem. Divine justice works all of that in some way, and the story that we tell ourselves is, well, they may have lots of money, but they're not happy. But we don't know. Maybe they are happy. It's not our problem. Our problem is the management of our own consciousness. That's what we're up to do. And so if you want to have love and happiness, as well as prosperity, as well as creative ideas, and all manner of good in your life, then the task is not only to accept it, but to act as though you already have it in such a ways that you're free to give it away. And all competition ceases. And you wish for your worst enemy. If you should happen to have a worst enemy, your abuser, the person that was so mean and awful to you, you wish for them the greatest possible good. Because that's what you're sending into your subconscious mind. Look, in a minute, Danielle's going to get up and she's going to take us through giving time, which works on many levels. One level is you put money in the basket, it goes in the bank. We have lights next Sunday. We have a campus next month, you know. That much is obvious. There's another level as well that's way deeper than all of that. It's when you give to your center, or to the Red Cross, or to any organization that does something that you think you like, or to the person holding the hand-lettered cardboard sign who's standing at the freeway access road light. When you give, you're sending into your own subconscious mind a powerful message that I have an abundance from which to give, and your subconscious mind picks that up and runs with it. And that is not a cheesy reason for giving. It's let me act as though. Let me act as though. So what I encourage all of us to do, to the best of our ability, in this week to come, and we'll continue with it next week, is practice in spurts, in sprints, inner sprints. Practice in sprints, living in the kind of world you wish to live in as if it were already here, rather than 600,000 things have to happen before it is. That right now, people are beautiful and trustworthy and in love with life. Right now, there are creative ideas for you. Right now, there's a passion for you and an interest for you. Right now, somebody is discovering you. Have you heard the story about the English plumber? A plumber in a little town in England likes to sing. He sings at his work. He brings a little radio with him and he sings along to the songs on the radio unless the client tells him to stop. Because he's all about making the client happy as a plumber. The other day he was singing to a song on the radio. The client was an A&R guy from a recording label. Signed him on the spot. So you're good. Now he'll be the one singing on the radio. How cool is that? Okay, would you like that? Would you like to live in that kind of world where all around you people are saying, I've been looking for someone just like you, with that gift that you have, with that gift you didn't even know you had. They're pulling something out of you. This happens. People say, I see something in you. You're like, where? But it's there, and they sense it, and they draw it out of you. And they draw it out of you. Would you like that? And on and on and on. And there's more than I can possibly think of about how you might like this world to be. But in the week to come, practice in spurts, particularly if it's new to you to do this. Don't make yourself wrong if you slow down with it, but just as far as you can go with it, practice imagining and acting as though you live in the kind of world you wish you did. And watch what starts to change. Watch what starts to happen around you. It will be absolutely magical. So, let's know there is one life. That life is spirit. That life is all the life there is. I'm going to give a brief little treatment here now because Lisa's going to wrap it all up with a bow here in a minute as we finish, a few minutes. And this one life is informing each one of us with exactly what we need to know to be fully who we are. We have come to this life at this time to have this powerful experience of co-creation with the infinite. We meet it halfway, more than halfway, by participating deliberately in the manufacture of a world that works for everyone. And whatever is necessary for this to happen, comes to us easily, effortlessly. Ideas flow. Love heals old wounds. And the mountains burst forth into singing, and the trees of the field clap their hands for this knowing and its manifestation in form everywhere I turn. I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into that one life that I think of as the great I am. And so it is.
Now, as our ushers make their way to the back for giving time, I want to thank each and every one of you once again. With that, we appreciate anything that you can give to us support-wise. We do a lot of stuff here, and people may or may not know all the stuff that we do, in addition to the fact that we do have to keep the lights on, and we have a mortgage to pay, and we have insurance and all those things you have for your house, just a whole lot more for here. So with that, whatever you give us, no matter how big or how small, it is greatly appreciated. We use it to make sure that we are here to support you. So in that, I invite you to say with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. And
I'm trying to keep three things in my head at the same time, so that's hence the reset. If you're in the room and haven't checked out the chat, go back after you get home and look in the chat, because I want to give a shout out to Danielle for all of the stuff that she puts in the chat. When Jesse mentions these random things like the camels, she will link in the chat to an article so that you can check it out. I don't know if she got the lobster woman. Did you get the lobster woman? Okay, the 100-year-old lobster woman? Okay, she's going to get that one now. And so, I mean, the chat's just really full of interesting things. And she probably has already gotten the English plumber, because I heard her put the headphones on. There, I saw her put the headphones on. So please check out the chat. You guys online are benefiting from her hard work. I'd like you guys in the room to know that she does all this work too. And then one of the things that I asked her to put in the chat today was the link to the Science of Mind archives, because Jesse mentioned the column from 20 years ago. I happened to have the pleasure of being in ministerial school with Kathy Mastriani, Reverend Kathy Mastriani, who is the director of the Science of Mind archives. And a project that they just recently finished, and she was like hardcore fundraising for it, is they have now digitized pretty much all of the Science of Mind archives from the beginning, from 1927 up. So if you go to the archives, I don't know, I'm not sure how you get to them, so, but you can go to the Science of Mind archives and find a way to get access to all of these. So if you want to take a look for that column, please do that. The Science of Mind archives are wonderful. There's all kinds of interesting resources. They point you in all kinds of directions. If you're ever in Golden, Colorado, you can actually go to the archives. They've got a coat and a shirt from Ernest. They've got chairs. They've got, I mean, just random stuff. And one of the coolest things that I saw when I was there was a Braille Science of Mind, which, by the way, was huge. So, but it was really cool. And they've got the Science of Mind text translated in various languages, too. So I'm just plugging the heck out of the Science of Mind archives, right? But it's an amazing resource, and as ministers and ministerial students, it saved our bacon a number of times. Mostly because a number of professors said, go here and do this, so that we would have that resource as ministers. So it's not just for ministers, it's for all of you guys too. All right, I think those were the three things, those were the balls I was juggling. And now I'm going to send you out into the world. But I'm going to do that by taking you one more time deep into that sacred subconscious And I want you to bring that subconscious consciousness. And the way you get there is through love. So please feel free to take these words as your own. There is one life, one power, one presence, one love. Each and every one of us are part of that love. We were made from that love, by that love. That love flows through us, in us, as us. We are literally a channel of that love. And all good things happen in love. And so as you move out into this world, I am knowing for you peace. I am knowing for you comfort. I am knowing for you that love that crops up in unexpected places, that love that crops up in the words of a friend. That the answers that you seek jump out at you. That when you need that hug from a friend, that friend is there to give it to you. Or it will come from a complete stranger that you know in your heart is a friend. As you move through this world, know that you are held. Know that you are loved. As you in turn hold and love one another. Know that you are spirit. Know that you are God in motion. Know that you are good. Know that good is. And good always is. And that when you walk into a room, good happens. Be the blessing that I know that you are. And I know this with all of the gratitude in my being, because I know good, I know God, I know love. And I know each and every one of you. So I'm grateful for you. I am grateful for this place. I am grateful for this teaching. I am grateful for this minister, and I'm grateful for these people, these musicians, that create this space for us now, that we may take this out into the world. And I know. And I release my word into law, knowing it is done, even as I speak these words. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my
I
body.
feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my
I
mind.
feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I
I
am.
choose it.
I choose
I
it.
trust it.
I trust it. I use
And I
it.
love it.
And I love
So
it.
it is.
And so it is.